Well, I want to present this to you in this way. Hillary Clinton, Saddam Hussein, and Muammar Gaddafi. What do they all have in common? Body doubles. Now, this is a picture of Hillary Clinton earlier on when she was being helped up the stairs. But you remember that when she was in New York City for the 15th year of 9/11, she was there on September 11th, 2016, 15 years after 2001. Making her speech, she became tired or dizzy or something, dehydrated, whatever, man. And she had to be escorted down a sidewalk. She fell tripping into the van. She was escorted away, and then a few hours later, she was absolutely fine. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you some real observations about this that really, well, in my mind, 100% guarantee she's got body doubles. Now, if you want to think that's impossible, well, just remember, Saddam Hussein didn't just have one body double. I think he had like a couple dozen of them, right? And they look just like him. Um, it's not just plastic surgery. You know what I suspect? I know on the internet they talk about cloning, and I'm thinking, maybe they could clone it. Well, they probably could clone people right from birth or something, or take an egg or something and clone a baby or something. But you can't, if you were able to clone a whole human, you couldn't get their whole brain inside there. I don't see how you could do that. But maybe you can clone skin grafts that make the double look extremely like the real McCoy. Possibly you can maybe clone a couple cells of skin to, graft on some facial area that can make the person look genuine as all hell. I don't know. That's just a theory. But I do know they can clone tissue from people. I know that, and animals, and it's been known since the late 1970s by medical doctors Robert Otto Becker. And Gaddafi had many clones too. So don't think that this is so ludicrous, because I know some people buy into these things right away, and then there's other people that just will not. It's just like extremes of believers. Like some people can't believe anything unless, Fox News tells them. Because those are conservatards. Or if they're libtards, it's the Huffington Post or something. But, I'm putting out something here that makes common sense. Now, remember Joan Rivers. I remember what she said about Michelle Obama. And she said, oh, it was just a joke. Now, actually, I was having her run for president back then before she was whacked, because she talked about Barack Obama's wife being a tranny. Well, if they could pull that crap over, and if you look on YouTube, you think that's bullshit. I didn't really think about her not being a woman until I saw this video on YouTube, and they went over all the body dimensions. Well, if they could pull that crap over on the American people for 8 years, you think they can't pull over the wool over the American people's eyes on a body double for Hillary Clinton? Easy. Now, I'm going to get into some real simple logic why this is true, and maybe something some people have not covered. But, if we were going to have the first woman president, I think it would have been Joan Rivers. She'd probably start World War III with her big mouth, but, hey, she'd be telling the truth, not just starting it on purpose, right? She'd probably piss off somebody someplace. I don't know. But, hey, I would have been all fine with a woman. I would have voted for her. Not Hillary. Not Hillary. No way in hell. And, she got whacked because she talked about Michelle Obama being a tranny. It's pretty obvious. The Google lights don't, the Google CEO don't want to agree with that. Fine, fuck you, whatever. Now, remember when Hillary Clinton was being helped along down the sidewalk, and this is on the same day, only later she meets a little girl outside of Chelsea's apartment in New York. But remember, several hours before this, she was being helped down the sidewalk to the van. She had a woman in her holding up her arm, taking her pulse. She gets to the van. She can't even walk in the van. She stumbles. She loses her shoe. They had to hold her up and escort her away. 3 hours later, she walks out of Chelsea's apartment. Now, this in itself is not so super suspicious except for one thing. Nobody is around her close by. that's like you got the cop over there, maybe a good 15 feet away. But you remember the people that she normally has around her in case she has one of these episodes, these medical episodes again. They felt so confident in letting her walk out the door by herself, not any medical or Secret Service people within 20 feet of her, walk out, and they did this little staged event where she meets the girl impromptu, which was, of course, staged. And she goes, "Oh, hi," and she says, I'll point to a link where this crap comes from. It is crap because this isn't Hillary. In other words, if they had the real Hillary do this, they would have had somebody nearby her, even if it was within a couple feet of her. To have her walk out here all alone, she could have easily had a seizure no matter what medicines they gave her, because she had a seizure during her speech just a few hours before with all her medical people around her, and they couldn't put her back together. They had to escort her to the car. She couldn't even walk inside the car. She fell down, lost her shoe. This could not be the same woman. No way in hell. No way in hell. Now, personally, what I think is going to happen is they're going to get rid of her, man. Just like Jimmy Hoffa, except you're not going to know she's gone. It's like she's going to be gone. I think you're going to get rid of her ass, man, to tell you the truth. She's going to disappear, just like Tony Pro did. Meadowlands or in the bottom of the Hudson Bay or whatever, I'm not sure. But it's just kind of a joke here, a sick joke. Anyway, but I think that she does have a double. I almost guarantee this. And they're using this as proof that she's fine. Now, I saw on the major media, they were talking about, the major media is so freaking bullshit. I mean, the one person I liked in the major media was Joan Rivers. She was cool. But let me show her for a while here. The thing is, the major media is coming out and saying that the internet is abuzz with rumors that Hillary has a body double. So they bring out the one woman that is going around as she used to be, some executive, and then she retired and became a Hillary impersonator. And they're saying she was contracted. Major media is saying that the internet thinks that the government contracted that woman to be the Hillary body double. Obviously not, because you could tell there's not a good enough likeness where this person, whoever this is, looks exactly like Hillary. And I'm telling you, the reason it's not Hillary is because this was only 3 hours after she collapsed. And it's not that she walked on her own power 3 hours later. It's the fact that they deliberately staged this event with the little girl. They deliberately had her walk out here alone with nobody around her. If this went wrong and she collapsed, and this was only 3 hours after she collapsed, and these medicines aren't real perfect because she collapsed during an event where they didn't plan on it happening, obviously, and they didn't expect it to happen, and they were trying for it not to happen. If she would have collapsed here, she would have hit the pavement and smacked her head, probably had a concussion, probably went into the hospital, and even if she didn't go, that happened that severe, she just collapsed here, right in front of all these cameras with the staged event 3 hours after she did collapse. Her campaign would have been completely through. You think they would have risked that? If this was the real Hillary and they're playing this game with, I'm going to walk outside, I'm fine, and I'm going to meet this little girl and make it look like all impromptu, they would have had somebody close to her. Probably 3 or 4 people close to her. And then she would have been saying, I'm fine. But no, she walked out alone. That's why it's a dead-on given this is a double. Now, the problem is this double looks too much like her. It's not that comedian that's acting like her, obviously, like the major media is implying that the internet is abuzz with. Now, how could you make somebody look exactly like the person? Well, go ask Gaddafi, go ask Saddam Hussein. because they didn't just have one double. They had more than a dozen doubles. As a matter of fact, Saddam Hussein, the guy that was hung, was likely a double. And if you want to really get down to conspiracy land with, and it's not even big, the long route to go down to conspiracy land with this, what I'll tell you here about Saddam Hussein as a different twist on something. You know, when he changed the policy from investing in dollars to investing in euros when he was for the profits of his sale of oil, I don't think that was him changing the policy. I think he was already dead. I think his sons made that change in policy. Before we had the second war with Iraq, the Iraq war, and we were totally, removed Saddam Hussein from power. Now, first off, the guy that was hung was not Saddam Hussein because the teeth were a dead giveaway. But number two, Saddam Hussein, before that war, the Iraqi war actually occurred, Saddam Hussein was actually having many health problems. He was being treated in Italy, and he probably died. And they were keeping the regime going under the guise of his numerous body doubles, and his sons were running the show. Saddam Hussein probably would have never switched from investing in dollars to investing in euros for his oil profits, which led to the United States going to war against him. I bet you that was his sons that did that. He was dead before the war even happened. But what they were really doing was removing from power the structure that was investing in, which is his family structure that was investing in euros, and thus affecting the supremacy of the dollar worldwide. But he had more than a dozen lookalikes that looked exactly like him. Same with Gaddafi, Colonel Gaddafi. To have one lookalike, how did they make it so legit? Possibly there is some, they call the quote-unquote plastic surgery, obviously, but also maybe a cloning of certain tissue that gets grafted onto somebody else that would be a feasible double, that you can grow the tissue in a culture someplace and then graft that tissue on the double so it looks exactly like, the person themselves, right? Possibly. That's a little bit theorizing, but I think Hillary Clinton has a double. And there's some other videos out there if you really want to look closely. There's some differences possibly, but you really can't. I don't really want to go down the picture route in comparison. To me, what the dead clincher is, they would not have risked the real Hillary Clinton walking out alone, doing this staged event, only a few hours after she was walking down the street and needed to be helped. She was having her arm being held, her pulse being taken, and then she collapses before she gets in the van. They wouldn't have risked this. If this was legitimately her, she would have been escorted by at least one or two people close by in case something went wrong. She walked out all alone. Nobody within 15, 20 feet of her. And this cop that's in the background, he's not trained. He couldn't catch her if she started falling here. This wasn't her. What's going to happen, I think, to Hillary Clinton? Who knows? Maybe she's too much of a problem. She's going to wind up like Jimmy Hoffa. Right? Now, I actually went to school, grammar school, actually not high school, grammar school with Tony Provenzano's daughter, Josephine. So, this is before Jimmy Hoffa, though, I think that was before Jimmy Hoffa. But, yeah, it's just something that always keeps in my mind, because when you know people a little bit more personally, I'm sure, I don't barely remember her, I'm sure she doesn't remember me, but, I think Hillary Clinton's going to wind up like Jimmy Hoffa. And whoever's going to be in the White House, it just might be like a big charade, like, with the wife of, quote unquote, of Barack Obama. So there you go. plain, simple common sense. If you don't want to believe she's got a body double, well, maybe you believe that Gaddafi never had doubles, which we know he did. Or maybe you want to believe that Saddam Hussein never had doubles, which we know he did. And he didn't just have one double. He had like at least a dozen of them. I think he had a couple dozen of them. 2 dozen of them. What does that tell you? Who's running the show? The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. What's at stake here? The world. The power of the world. Yeah, I think it's possible. Anyway, over and out.